Consumers, I'm going to give you a little insight or behind the scenes on what actually takes place when you drop your vehicle off and it goes behind the closed doors of a tent shop. Now, typically, not every tent shop, but typically, there's a few things that goes on. And first thing we do is we get everything prepped so we can cut the film. Some shops use a plotter. Some folks are old school and can actually do the patterns by hand, because initially, if you are using a plotter and your shop that you use is using a plotter, they're actually putting someone else's tent patterns on. Now, I also have a plotter and I do use it, but I don't always. And for this purpose, I'm gonna do you a hand cut. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lay the film up here and I'm gonna create a pattern by taking a marker and marking the edges and cutting the top edge so it fits this window perfect. A plotter is for a specific window, a series of year models for, just say this Explorer from X to Z. So here's the thing. Your edge is not going to fit perfect because not every window is created by the same company, but the pattern is created off of one window that has a certain edge. There's tolerances to it, but I'm going to show you how I do it. And I get it set up here. And so how this works is I don't mark the top edge because I cut it. However, I will mark the bottom edge and then I'll cut the top edge with a knife so it actually is a custom cut fit to your vehicle. So I'm gonna do this. I got door panel covers in here covering these panels so we don't get them wet, so that's why I was lifting up here. This window has automatic windows, so I want to get it just a certain amount down so I can see my top edge, and I'm over plenty enough to do what I got to do here. So I'm now going to take my knife and cut me a pattern across the top. So I'll lay this up like this, and I lay my knife flat on the top of the window. So by doing that, what this does, it allows me to actually just replicate the very top edge of this window perfectly. So when I put this film on, it goes right there in place and you have no gaps along the top of it. Now, I'm going to cut it, then I'll come back and make a second cut just to make sure that it's smooth like I want it across the top. This process requires a steady hand, and you want to keep a new blade in it, in your knife. So I made that pass. I will make one more and get this. There it is. So I'll start right here. I've laid it flat on the edge of that glass. This is laminated glass. So what that means is two layers sandwiched together with a urethane piece between them. So this thing will crack instead of shatter, which is and it's also sounding. It makes these vehicles have a lot less cabin noise on the inside when you're going down the road. So that has that top cut spot on. I'll take my field board and I'll cut these pieces right here, and I'll bring it back and install it for you. So this piece cut, this is what we refer to as a hand cut pattern with a window film. So you see our silver mark is still on it. Our top edge lines up perfectly. And we're covered all the way down to below our silver mark here by a 1/4 inch, which means we get it down below the rubber seals. So that has that. So here's what happens next. We prep this window to be ready to take the film. This car has laminated glass, so we clean and prep the groove up there really well so we don't get any debris floating down from it into our tent. Next thing is, I checked it before with my hands to feel if there was anything that was heavily stuck, and it's not. So with being laminated, it's a softer glass than the tempered glass is. And there was something there. I could hear it when I was scraping the window, but it came off. This is really hard plastic right here, what I'm using to scrape it with, so If there's anything on the glass, you'd hear it just make it a clicking sound, like it did on that first little spot. All that's gone. We're getting up in behind the seals. This has an advantage because it doesn't scratch your window, and it reaches deeper up into the seals and the crevices, so you can prep it correctly. So I will let this thing down lower than I normally would to install the film, so I can clean this radius that's up in here, just like this. And as I'm doing this, I catch the water that's on the top edge of this window, so it doesn't have any residue floating on the top. What I like to do is contain any contamination in the corners. I'll flush it, but I've done both of those sides, and I'll just take this squeegee and I'll work it like this, so I never lift it off the glass. That way, any of the contamination that might be in the water is staying on the sides and running down. A lot of these tools that I use are custom tools that I use and have for years. I own a company called Gasket Pro Tools, which we design and build tools for the tool industry. So, if you're thinking about having your car tinted, who better to have it tinted than the guy that makes all the tools that the other guys use? A little food for thought. So, that is done there, and I've got this wet here, and I have my ratio on my slip solutions are different for different places I tint, but in my shop, it's air conditioned. We keep a relative humidity of around 48 to 52% and keep it at least 70 degrees. So, and we use baby shampoo, so it doesn't hurt anything on your vehicle getting it wet. It won't get any wetter than it does when you're getting your groceries in or whatever if it's raining. But nonetheless, we cover your panels up, keep everything dry for you. Now I'm gonna go peel the piece of film, bring it over here and install it. Try to make it a point to not touch the glue side, which is the side facing the glass. Now, the soap lets it slide into position, and then the pressure from the squeegee activates the glue and presses it down on the window, so it bonds to the glass. So once I get this window positioned even on the top and with no gap or an even gap, this tells me that my sides are going to be correct on it, because I cut it to fit the top and the side. So if it's fitting the top edge, then it's going to fit the sides. So what I'm doing here, this is our link tool. It's another tool I designed for the industry. I do my initial tack with this. When you're extracting the water, you'll be pushing really hard on this thing with a handle squeegee to be exact, so it will get you more pressure on it. So I'm easing this thing down, and the reason that I haven't, I say extracted the water yet, is I want to make sure I got it exact where I want it, like this. And you can't heat laminated glass like we do tempered glass to make this stuff bond. So I'll bring a heat gun over here and flash it with some heat from the inside and let it help the film set up right quick before I do the bottom part of it. That way it doesn't move. So once I do that, I can move with my hand, and if it's bonded correctly, then the film will not move up and down. So that means I can roll this window up and squeeze it out. Now, when you have your windows tinted, a lot of people will tell you, leave the windows up for 48 hours. We also like for you to do that, but it's not necessary when we tint them, for the simple reason we go below the rubber seal on the door, so it gets the film down in there. It's another extraction tool we make. We can get this thin one all the way below the seals to get all the moisture out down there, just like this. This tool hadn't been released yet, so some of my constituents will see this thing and they'll be wanting to know when they can get it, how much it is, all that stuff. Yes, ma'am. Hey. Yeah,
That's what I found today. I want to make sure I didn't miss you.
Oh no, you didn't. I'm finishing it up as we speak right now. I'm just making sure all the edges are good and dry, so it doesn't have any hiccups. Because usually we let it sit outside in the sun, but we hadn't had a ton of hot sun. So, but I'm just checking everything over. So give me about 30 minutes and you can come get it.
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. No worries.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate you now.
You're welcome, honey. I appreciate you.
Bye bye. That's the actual customer for the vehicle. This is also another tool from our company. It's a hard card, but you know, if you can read it, Gasket Pro Tools. We spec the polymer, had the mold built, and it's got a little different angle than some of the others in the industry, but it really works well for what we do. So here's where the rubber meets the road. This is our extractor with the hydrant. So you may not can see it, and I'm not going to move the camera just to do that, but as we're doing this, it is just moving tons of water out from behind the film and flush mounting it to the glass. And that lets me know that I've got all the moisture out and that this is going to be a well bonded piece of film. And like I say, most folks, they cut it even with the edge and don't put it down below the seals. That's why they'll tell you can't rub it down for 48 hours or more. And we do tell you 24, but that is not 100% necessary either. So when I put this seal back in this thing, I'll show you that we roll it down before it leaves. That way we know everything is spot on. Start going outside. Make sure we have no kind of gaps or anything, and we don't. So I'm going to double check the bottom part from the outside. The edge of your film doesn't look like this or close to this, then I'm not saying that done you a bad job. I'm just saying this is where we're different. So you see this gap on the edge right here, it's consistent all the way down, and it's a 32nd, which is better than industry standard. Now if this was a tempered glass, I would do what we call a shave on it and shave and blend the edge. But this is how it looks when it's done professionally. And this is another thing. What you're gonna look right here and see and not see, you're gonna see crystal clear window. You won't see a bunch of little tatter and specks all in this thing, which is what is known as trash. And the first thing they're gonna tell you when you ask them is, oh, that'll dry out. It's not gonna dry out. If it's in there now, it's only gonna get worse. So Rodney McClure, Ace Window Tinting, For 40 years, we've been keeping you cool and are happy to do it. This is our little shop. It's air conditioned, and like I told you before, all this makes a difference. We're right here at 70 degrees, and we're about 62 relative humidity, which is perfect for what we're doing. Anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll get this video edited and get it out there for you.